This one? Checkity check, check. Hello. Welcome to board meeting. Checkity check, check. Can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you.
Was that good enough? This is my first time. Welcome, everybody. We're so glad to have you all here with us tonight. And we're ready to start our board meeting. So that's the call to order. Do we have a motion to begin?
We don't need to.
Don't do that?
Nope, we just go.
Thank you. Sorry, there might be a lot of that tonight. All right, Brian Smith will have our reverence, and Karen Cronin will then have our flag salute. Then we'll have recognitions from Julie Taylor.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful to gather together as a board and interested public to discuss the affairs of our school district. We're grateful for the many hours and efforts that employees throughout the district serve to help our children in their educational journey. We're grateful for the freedom that we enjoy, the wonderful communities that we live in. And at this time, we ask thy blessing upon us that we will keep at the forefront the education of our children in our minds as we discuss the affairs of this district. And I'm grateful for those who serve our country, those serving throughout the world. I ask a blessing upon them, that they'll be protected and blessed in their service. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I invite you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
So I'm excited to do the recognitions tonight, and I see a few kids here. I'm hoping they're part of here for these recognitions. And I just want to thank Laura Wheatley, who is the regional PTA president. She is amazing. I mean, I've been in schools, I had kids in schools, and she just does such a good job with the PTA and advocating for students and engaging and letting us know what's going on. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for letting me know about these recognitions and all of us know about these Reflections winners. So for those of you who don't know, Reflections is a contest that the PTA sponsors every year that encourages, let me read it right, so it's for all students from all grades and abilities to explore and be involved in the arts. And there's several different categories that students can participate in, and they send in their submissions, and they're judged, and then those get awards and Award of Excellence. So we're going to recognize those from the Box Elder region who received the Award of Excellence, and I think we have 8 of them. I don't know if all 8 are here, and we have a slideshow that shows, do you have that, Keith? You can pull it up, to just give a little bit of highlight of each of them. And this year's Reflections contest was accepting imperfections. Thank you. Accepting imperfections. And it's always a positive, uplifting thing, so kids can use their talents and skills and explore what they're doing, and it's for personal gain. So if you want to go through that slideshow, and so that's the theme, and then I will read off, and I'm going to read off the name of the student and what category they were in, and then after that we're going to hopefully shake some of your hands and give you congratulations in an exciting way. But I just wanted to say, so for these students, we just want to congratulate you on your Award of Excellence in the Box Elder Region Reflections contest. We're really proud of your efforts and being involved in the arts and being creative and participating, and we hope you continue that, and good luck at the state competition, because we know that the winners go on to the state. So this is our first one. Make sure these are not in the same order I have, so I think I have them backwards. Okay, so Audrey Carlson was awarded the Award of Excellence for 2D Visual Art. Is Audrey here? Audrey, thanks for being here. Congratulations. And she talked about the rich girls accepting the other girls' imperfections by having an imaginary tea party with her. And so this was her visual art submission. Thank you. My brain. Submission for the 2D visual art. So congratulations on that one. Yay, thank you. This next one is Gentry McBride. Is Gentry here? Hi, Gentry. Thanks for being here. Look at that. Is that you dancing? Impressive. So she got her award for excellence for dance choreography. I didn't even know what that was when I was your age. So she says, I love to dance, but I'm not always perfect. But that's okay because I can keep trying. Sometimes I feel broken down or scared, but dancing always makes me feel better.
This was actually a video, but I'm not smart enough to get a video on here. So
That's a good screenshot. I'm impressed. So congratulations, Gentry. Our next one is Becca Esplin. Is that who I have? Oh, no. I can get him. No, I'll follow you. It's easier. Okay, Mace to Phillips. Did I say that right?
You did.
Okay. Sorry. So Mace, I'm guessing that's your son.
He is.
That's so exciting. Congratulations, and Mace is here. Thanks for being here, Mace. He won his in 2D visual art as well. And he says, even though this picture is not perfect, I love it because I made it. And I love that, Mace. Thank you. Then who do we have next? Becca. And I don't think Becca was going to be here.
Becca and then Carly's right after. They're sisters. They are not here.
They're not here. Okay. So Becca got the award for excellence in photography. So she's training her 2-year-old dog, Sophie, to do tricks. She's not perfect, but she's improving every day. So bless her heart, because those dogs, that's a great picture. I love it. I wonder what kind of dog it is, if anybody knows. And then Carly Esplin, this was in, I want to say, literature. So she wrote something. We accept each other's differences, even though we disagree with each other sometimes, we still love each other no matter what. Wow, if we could all learn that. Way to go, Carly. But this was her entry in a literature category. So congratulations to Carly. And then we have, how do you say it? Emiko or Emiko? Who's here? Oh, Emiko? Is she here? No? Okay, well, Emiko won it in 3D visual art. And you can see, I really like this. It's a tree, and then she's got pictures put it on it. And she says, sometimes when I go over to my Aunt Fran's house, I see a picture of tree of my ancestors. So I wanted to make her a picture of tree with imperfect things. My imperfect things are not organized: a flat tire, a really old chair, a dead branch, a broken windshield, a crooked picture, a tilted ladder, and last of all, me. And isn't that beautiful? We recognize the beauty in the imperfect things. So that was Emiko. Then Elias Cable, this is a 3D visual art, and this was impressive. This is a bench that he made out of scraps from his dad's garage. Is this you? Congratulations, Elias. Thank you for being here. How big is that bench? I couldn't tell from the picture. How big would you say it is? It's just a little bench? I love it. That's so creative. That would be a good thing to put your little, well, maybe you don't have stuffed animals. I have like little stuffed animals. That's impressive, though. And he says, I wanted my bench to not be as black. I wanted it to be more brown, but I still like my bench. I love your bench. Congratulations. And then finally we have Harriet Nilsson. Oh, Hattie. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I wrote Harriet. Sorry, Hattie. Where's Hattie? Hi, Hattie. Thanks for being here. So she won this. Look at this. This is a photography. And she says, I think flowers, is that right, photography? Okay, so she took this picture. I think flowers are beautiful, but they're not always perfect. I worked really hard to make this cake from scratch with my dad. It tastes kind of dry, but I'm very proud of it. It looks great. So, I just love that you're all involved and that you are willing to put yourself out there and accept your imperfections, and I think they're all awesome. All of them are awesome. Is this, who's this? Who have we got here? Oh, Emiko. We skipped, well, we already did you. We didn't skip you. Let's read Emiko again. So this was, we talked about how your tree, how we loved how you put all of these pictures on your tree and you made all the imperfect things and included you. So that was beautiful. So we're giving everybody a clap, and then we're going to have you come up and shake our hands. So. Do you want to get, oh, you've got those? Oh, okay. Well, do you want to hand these to them, and we'll just, you're the ones that do it. So if you guys want to come up here and, I should say this too, parents, thank you for supporting your kids and encouraging them. This is something that is such a blessing for them and for being here.
All right, can you hold your awards up so we can see them? Okay, look right here. Parents, are you okay if this is posted on our website? Let's say for some updates. So would you like them to turn the awards around, or are you good? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for.
If you'll take them home, that'd be great.
And we have, so you're welcome to stay or you can leave now. I know the rest of board meeting is not super exciting, but we sure appreciate you taking the effort to be here. Yeah, I've still got that one. I still have one more for swim team, so. Thank you for being here. And I vote that we have little kids come to board meeting every month. Yeah. So, and principals, secondary elementary directors, I mean. Yeah. That's fun. It's called determination. So we have one more recognition for Coach Jerry Hodgkinson and the Box Elder High School swim team. Is anybody here representing them?
I think they're heading to state.
Oh, is that already? Oh, I was going to say, I thought it was.
Aaron, is that why you're here? No, actually, I was here to do her homework.
But you're swimmers? Oh, well, look at this. Then you get to represent everybody. But we just want to recognize and congratulate the Box Elder High School swim team for taking home another 5A, or Region 5, excuse me, championship, boys and girls. How many years in a row is that? Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I know how hard swimmers work. Like, this is not just a short season, and it's morning and afternoon, and it's a lot of work. So we just want to recognize and congratulate you and your coaches and everybody for all the hard work. And we know that this is a program that's built on consistency and commitment and character. You kids are great. So congratulations, tell your coach, great job, and your fellow swim mates. But good luck at state, too. We're excited for you. That's what I have.
Thank you. Well, that is just always the best part of our meeting, is these recognitions, especially with those little ones. Karen, we have a speech here for tonight.
If we do, is Warren here? Warren Jensen? He may not have got the message that he was going to come. He might come next month, if that's okay. Warren Jensen is going to be representing the the Northern Utah Boys and Girls Club at the Youth of the Year this year. And that is a 2-day event where they compete against many other Youth of the Year. That's going to be held March 3rd. The naming of the Youth of the Year is March 3rd at the Capitol Rotunda. So we wish Warren the best, and we will have him come maybe next month and share his. It's a speech that he wrote that he will be giving to the committee. We're just going to let him practice.
Thank you. We'll hope to see him next month. We need an approval of tonight's agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I second. Wait a second. Give it away.
All right, now we can move on to public comment. Before we do that, I have a sheet I need to read. Thank you. All right, we have Mr. Norton is here to talk to us tonight. So, Mr. Norton, or whoever else is considering public comment in the future, the floor is open at this time for any resident of Box Elder County to address the Board of Education on items pertaining to education and/or the operation of the school district. Participants will be given the opportunity to address the board in the order in which they've signed up. Individual presentations during this segment of the meeting are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. When possible, response to the questions or comments will be provided at this time. If any additional study is needed to respond adequately to the questions or comments, the residents will receive a written response as soon as possible. The written response will be read publicly at the next regular meeting of the Board of Education. Due to the rights of privacy of the employees of the district, the Board of Education will not discuss specific employee appointments, employment, or performance at this time. Questions and complaints or charges against particular employees are to be referred to the superintendent for action, consistent with law and/or district policy.
First,
Welcome.
thank you guys for allowing me this opportunity. I would like somebody from the board or Mr. Carlson to read the Box Elder Way on wellness and you personally. Can you guys read that?
No.
I have to have my glasses.
I know I can't see.
Can somebody read that for me from up here?
I can't see it.
So wellness states physical, mental, social, emotional resilience. And you personal talks about honesty, integrity, responsibility, and personal growth. Okay? So I've asked the school board members twice and then once today again to meet with me about my concerns that I have about what happened to my autistic son. I have not received a response. That's not integrity. That's not responsible. I think it's irresponsible as well that we have been asking, the public has been asking about to see these seclusion rooms. Our school district will not show them. They're worried about confidentiality, which I respect that. I think that's great. And we need to honor that. But when school is out, there's no confidentiality to break. Okay? My son has not received that. Because I recently just found out, and I'm sorry to get emotional, but it was not shared on that news article. When he was in there, he was trying to fall asleep. And the teacher or the teacher's aide was opening the door and slamming it so he would not fall asleep. And as my wife said, if he fell asleep, he was calm enough to come out. And it was not done right. So I am angry at each one of you because I've asked you guys to meet with me. I'm angry because there's no accountability and there's no responsibility. I can tell you right now, a teacher just made a mistake with my son the other day. But she owned it. It was a bad mistake, but she owned it. But you know what? We moved on because she took accountability. I do not understand why you guys will not meet with me so I can share my concerns. Those acts to those two boys was egregious. It was wrong. And not one of you, I'm going to take that back. I have spoken with one person on this, and on this floor right here. One person. I do not understand what is going on in this school district for that behavior to happen, and nobody is being accountable for it. I do not understand. And when that boy was born early, 6 weeks early, I made a promise to somebody that I would take care of him, not knowing the challenges that were ahead. Had no idea. And my time's up, and so I respect that time. Thank you very much.
Mr. Norton,
Yes,
we will respond to you tomorrow.
I hope so.
We will.
I hope so.
We have discussed it and we have responded once, and we've discussed it again.
But I asked you
And
guys
we
to
were
meet
going-
with me personally twice in the last 2 weeks, and nobody responded, and I sent another email today this morning.
Right, and I got it. Thank you for coming tonight to public comment. We will respond to you tomorrow.
I will continue to be here until something happens, because this is not okay. I've asked everybody to meet with me, to talk about it. Nobody has. Dr. Superintendent?
You haven't asked me.
Yes, I have. I got it in an email, Mr. Carlson. I will forward it on.
Okay, go ahead.
On record, you said, I did not. I said, let's meet. It's on record. I did not. I will forward that email to everybody. You will see what you are dealing with. Thank you.
No, that is all of the public comment, and we will now move on to our action items. Our first action item is our presenter, Mr. Wiley, and I know he's super excited to do this tonight. We are excited you're here to do this tonight. I'm excited about what you're about to talk about, so.
One of us. President Summers, Board of Education, I stand before you tonight for 2 reasons. I am going to share some information about approval for a new course and share information on a new program. The course in question is titled or known as USU ITLS 2500. The reason for the course being asked, it's actually called Technology Enabled Instruction through Utah State. And if I'm given a moment, the reason we do not currently teach it, nor do we have a plan to teach it here in our district. The reason why I am requesting it be approved for our board is so that students in the coming year can go to what we hope will be the Cash CAPS program. There are several CAPS programs around our state, and I had the opportunity to travel with Mrs. Summers and Mrs. Kennedy to visit 2 of those. The CAPS programs are Centers for Advanced Professional Studies. They are not a sit and get curriculum. I gave you all a flyer. I was not prepared to, technology-wise, to share all the information. Our CAPS program that we are hoping to create and have been building since I've gotten this job slowly with Cash and Logan school districts it's growing. We wanted to have a full-fledged program like the ones we went to visit in September. We have had to pull back. In the 25-26 year, we hope to pilot 2 programs in the Cash CAPS programs. One is business and marketing, and the other is aspiring educators. For that reason, I am asking for approval for the ITLS 2500. Specifically with the educator program, students will take TEAL 1010 here in our district. All of the base classes for the CAPS programs are already in place in all 3 of our districts in this consortium. They will then travel, our CAPS program will be housed at Bridgerland campus. The Cache County School District has already fronted the money for the reservation of that building for a 5-year contract, and they've also fronted the money for the director of that program. So we will have no additional cost as a district to send students to Bridgerland, other than what we normally have for a student going to Bridgerland. They would be able to go to the CAPS program. They would take this course, and at the end of this course, they will be given the opportunity to take the paraprofessional exam and we can actually hire them in our district or in Cache or Logan or anywhere in the state as a paraprofessional after they finish the CAPS, specifically in the Educator CAPS program. An advantage to this, our students will be able to go directly into the 3,000 level courses at the university. Not just Utah State, but all universities in our state. And hypothetically, we could have seniors graduating and then we could be hiring full-fledged teachers in under 3 years here in our district that were homegrown. The CAPS program is not, even though we have a class, is not a sit and get type of curriculum. The CAPS program, as Mrs. Summers witnessed, the facility is not rows of chairs or even rows of computers. It is office space, it's lab space, it's business space. Students, this is almost like a step just beyond what an internship would be. Again, we are only going to pilot 2 programs this year, Business and Marketing and the Introduction to Education, if you will, or the Aspiring Educator. In the future, we hope to add 4 more, Agriculture and Natural Resources, Engineering and Manufacturing. Obviously, these are very vague names, so they might change. There is a web or IT or cybersecurity, and the final one would be health or medical. We are in partnership with Bridgerland or BTech, so we would not compete in any way with their programs. That's why they offered to house us at a discounted rate, so that they could actually glean students from this program, or vice versa. It's almost like a two-way street. Man, I'm really rambling. Any questions before I continue? I'm sure there's lots.
No, it's
Yeah,
good.
it is good
I
stuff.
do have a question. So this one course
Yes, ma'am.
so this is for the education?
That's
Are there
correct.
courses already available for the business and marketing, or is it just one course? I guess I don't quite understand the whole program.
Perfect question. So all the preliminary courses or concentrator courses are all being taught in all 3 districts to get to the CAPS program. Currently, the state has a capstone number. In our consortium, we are working with Utah State. The specific person is Becky Lahr, not lawyer, Lahr. She is trying to get us concurrent enrollment. So I may be standing before you in the next few months to either approve a capstone number or a concurrent enrollment number, and we are pushing for the concurrent enrollment number. So then kids, that final class, the capstone, would be a concurrent enrollment elective. But we don't have that solidified just yet. So in business, it will either be a capstone number or it will be a concurrent enrollment number, like this one is for education.
And do you have an idea of how much interest there is, or how did you gauge that to want to go down this path?
Well, I wanted to go down this path the first time I met John Anderson. He's my equivalent at Cache. Was right after I got the job, and he came to me and said, "Do you want to go see CAPS?" And I said, "I've never even heard of it. What is it?" And he said, and he related this experience to me. He got offered the job by then Superintendent McKee. He was a new superintendent in Cache. He got offered the job, and then the next sentence out of the superintendent's mouth was, "What do you know about CAPS?" So then John, over the course of the last year, had to learn. He began to share with me these ideas, this non-traditional learning, because students are working directly with industry, and so there's no sit and get. It intrigued me, and Mr. Anderson set up tours for me and him alone over the summer to go down and see the Davis Catalyst Center and to the Wasatch CAPS, which is in Heber at the UVU building. Once I saw what was happening in those facilities, I was all in for our students. The opportunities that presented there, even in the summer. This is summertime, and kids were going to the Catalyst Center of their own volition, on their own dime, because there wasn't any busing at that time. I'm sure you've heard the phrase that the jobs of tomorrow we don't know today. And that first viewing, that first time I went to the Catalyst Center, there were 2 boys there working on $50,000 drones. They're ginormous, huge ones that Mosquito Abatement Company uses to spray for mosquitoes. I'm familiar with the $30 ones I buy my 7-year-old. These two gentlemen, and I'm going to call them that because I don't think that you can call them students. They'd passed their FAA license, a 107 license, so they could fly above 300 feet, but that was not their goal. Their lab had state-of-the-art laser engravers and 3D printers, and they were drone mechanics. The one boy had a job offer for $80,000 when he graduates high school. Their classroom, even though it kind of looked, if you weren't really observant, the wall, the outside wall was a garage door. So they could raise the entire exterior wall, fly drones directly out of the classroom out onto a soccer field to test fly the repaired drones. When you see stuff like that, you can't help but want that for our district. So that's how I got started down this path. If you would like, sorry, that was embarrassing. Me and Mr. Anderson have set up tours, not at the Catalyst Center, even though I have talked with Dr. Paul, the principal there, and I just forgot, Mr. Hunt, the CT director in Davis. We have tours to go to the Wasatch CAPS scheduled for the Cash Superintendency on February 25th and the 27th, the end of this month. If any of you would like to go, I would be happy to take you and answer any further questions if there's any after tonight about the CAPS program.
I would highly recommend that you take that opportunity. It was amazing. I was so impressed and also want that type of thing for our students. It's outstanding.
So is that both days or either day?
Either day.
Or
Either day, I would be happy to go with you. Either day, whatever works. We want the best for this program to start, and sometimes fledgling programs hit bumps. And so Mr. Anderson is recruiting every teacher and every business owner in Cache County to try and get them to come along, because without industry, this program does not succeed. Because students don't go, there's no lecture for day one. You are given projects, and then you work directly with industry. And so there are days that kids don't even go technically to class because they're on site with their business, working on these projects. So he has arranged these two visits, not just for the superintendency, but for anyone that wants to possibly be a mentor to students in the Cache Valley. So you can do either day.
Are there any more questions?
Have they talked to Space Dynamics Lab?
I can, the list is incredibly long, so I don't know, but I can ask.
Just tell them to add that one. They're very student-oriented for university students, so they might be able to extend that down. I don't know.
The extent at which businesses have wanted to help other districts or other students just shocks me. And it's not like they're holding back. They're giving kids full access to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it is cool to see at Wasatch CAPS, there are several senior students that now own patents with the U.S. Patent Office through this program. Think about that when, like, these are the students that are going to someday cure cancer or build the next Box Elder School District building or possibly get the next spacecraft to Mars. Who knows? The sky is the limit, and it's amazing to see what happens when students are given that freedom.
All right. Can anyone make a
just curious, is there a cap on how many students can do it? Like, are you worried that there's going to be a
That's a good
rush?
question. So to give you an example, the Catalyst Center in Davis, they're in their third year, and they had to start an interview process the second year. That is part of our plan to have an interview, but not this first year. Again, this is not for every student. There might be a need for students to take some time at Bridgerland, maybe to mature or to get more soft skills before they're just given free rein. Again, that's why we've partnered with Bridgerland, because we think that there's a two-way street there. But right now, no, there won't be a limit. But we really do hope that there is an interview process, because that's part of the real world as well. Being able to interview well or produce a resume so that, I mean, you're applying for a very elite program.
And sorry, maybe I missed this, but what grade does it start?
That's an excellent question. The literature we have is for juniors and seniors, but for the pilot program, we will only be taking seniors because of the Teal 1010 in the aspiring educators. We would only have room for seniors in that program. There may be a little room for juniors in the business and marketing, but again, demand. Right now, I know there's a ton of seniors that Cash is a little ahead of us with registration. I did mention to our counselors yesterday in cone meeting that I was going to present to the board, but assuming you approve, I will have intimate conversations with our counselors that are in registration right now to begin to get our students in line to go.
So, those that start taking these CAPS classes, you say that it will be in connection with Bridgerland. Will they need to go to Bridgerland? Will it be with businesses in our area, or are we going to use the businesses over there?
That's an excellent question. So I've been reaching out to businesses. Previous board member, she was unable to go with us before, and now her term has changed. But she was reaching out to businesses in Tremonton because we are just over the mountain from each other. So this will be all. We've actually extended because we're a consortium with Perkins funding, federal funding, with Rich County as well. And we've extended an invitation to them, even though they are an incredibly small school. That will be when we bring on the ag and natural resource, because they won't necessarily need to travel to Bridge, because their business that they're going to be partnering with will be in their hometown. The faculty member we have will be more of a mentor rather than a teacher, just to ensure that there is good communication between the business and the student, or in the Aspiring Educators program, it would be between teacher and student, because those students are going to be placed directly in a teacher's classroom in a paraprofessional role.
So, like for the education one, with those teacher classrooms, would they be here?
They would be on our side of the
Okay,
building,
so then
absolutely,
the
our side of the mountain. They would on occasion go to the Bridgerland campus, but that would only be to check in. They would not go every day. The majority of their time would be on our side of the mountain with our teachers, growing our own from the ground up. It's going to be awesome. Excellent questions. Any more?
Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept or approve the new course for our high schools, the USU ITLS 2500 Principles of Education Instruction. And I don't see the other one on here.
It's just that one course.
It's just the
Because
one.
I will be before you, hopefully before the end of the year, to either approve more CE, concurrent enrollment courses, or the capstone courses. We're in the process of negotiating that with Utah State.
So
right now
not the
it's
business and marketing one.
not right
Okay,
now. It will be here shortly.
I make a motion for the principles of education.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
I'll be around if you have any questions later.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Wiley. We appreciate you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the approval of the capital improvement budget for fiscal year 26.
Can you get that attachment up? Yeah. So this is on board books. So hopefully each of you have had a chance to take a look at it. Throughout the year, from about this time last year, I've been building a list. That list is things that I've seen, that my maintenance crew has seen, that the school administrators have notified me that are in need as far as improvements on the buildings on our property. And then in, let's see, it was in November, I met with our construction manager, and they started building some estimates of these different projects. Then as a facilities advisory committee, we met the end of January and prioritized each of these items: high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And then if you scroll down, Keith, I think that we have, yeah, we have those totals for high, medium, and low. Yeah. Now, on the recommendation, it also states that we could be pushing well over $5 million. And that's because on the main list, there are some blanks that are not prioritized on certain projects. If we were to do everything, then we would go well above that. As it stands, working with Mr. Stevens on the budget and what could be available, and then with the Facilities Advisory Committee, he felt like we could ask for the 3.8 million. That would take care of the high, medium, and low needs. It does not address the other needs, but we just take care of what we can along the way. So, do we have any questions? I tried to be succinct, but clear?
I understand the high, medium, low, and so you're saying that we won't get to the ones that aren't. But you have evaluated all of them and feel like the high, medium, low.
Right.
The ones that aren't, that don't carry a category, those are like a low.
So,
But those have been evaluated
Let's
and
see.
determined to be less.
Are getting finished on this year's budget, right?
yeah, some of them will be done on this year's budget, but to give you an example, we have one line item that says Bear River High/middle. We have a hold on that one. The project would be a new bus drive to accommodate both Bear River High School and Bear River Middle School, and it would be right on the east of the natatorium. And the reason for that would be to alleviate congestion. It was determined by the Facilities Advisory Committee that let's hold on that. One, because of the high cost combined with the other things that need to be done. So we're not saying that that wouldn't be maybe of value in some way, but just at this time we're going to hold that on this fiscal year 26 budget.
Okay.
So how does the 3.8 million compare to the last year budget?
Last year, I believe it was 2.5 million that we approved. So it is higher.
And if I understood you right, Neil said that we've got the money for this.
Correct.
The
He and I,
3.8 million.
yeah, he and I have gone over that, and he said that he felt like we could go ahead and ask for the 3.8.
Some of the projects carried over from being on hold the previous year because we were waiting to see what happened with the bond. And so we didn't want to invest money in some of those schools, but since the bond didn't pass, we need to go back and fix those items now.
Correct.
All right, any more discussion, questions?
I move the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget for capital improvement projects be approved for 3.8 million.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Motion
much.
passes. Thank you, Corey. All right, Mr. Meekum, let's hear about some pickleball.
So Box Elder High School has already had a pickleball club. It's been pretty low key. Just they gather, they play, very little cost. I think it was less than $15, so it's not even on the fee schedule. And I don't even know if they spent $15. I think it was just come, play, have a good time. Well, there's a kind of this group of people now that want to play, and we have an advisor slash it's coach, but just a club advisor that works for Box Elder High that is willing to take players that would like to go play, and it's co-ed, boys, girls, and it's up to $20 a tournament, and a kid, if they want to play in the tournament, they can pay the $20, and if they don't want to pay in the tournament, they don't pay $20. But in order to be a non-curricular club and to charge $20 per tournament, and with it, they get a t-shirt for the tournament, and I don't know what else they get if they win or whatever, but, so they kind of decided, well, what if we decided to have this opportunity just to play with other kids their age in different capacities. Obviously, pickleball is a sport that's a little different than tennis. You don't have to be quite as mobile, and you can do a lot of different things, and kids like to play it. And so Box Elder wanted to say, if the board would approve this, kids, if they want to play, they can. If no one wants to play, they don't have to. So it would be up to 10 tournaments for the rest of kind of the spring. And so that would be the recommendation. But the club's already been approved. It's just a matter of now there's a fee if they do want to spend. And so you'll see the spending plan listed there in the recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions? Any thoughts?
So, where are they playing?
I think they probably play at the Brigham City Park.
Okay,
or other places around the area.
I just know that we've said that the gyms are really utilized, so I didn't know if they were also using the gyms.
This is all outdoor.
And any tournaments, they would just be here local?
No, I think it's in the northern Utah area. Probably Cache. I don't think there's any in Tremont. Oh, that was naive of me. Is there? I haven't played there, if there is.
I don't know how to play pickleball.
Ben Wiley says yes.
Someone wants to teach me. Let me
Where
know.
are they? Where are the courts? Ah, well, okay. There's indoors. There's indoors in lots of places, religious including. But I have never seen outdoor in Tremont. But there are outdoors in Cache, here, and in Ogden. And I don't know all those details, Karen. But I will find out where they're playing. But I don't know that.
To do that, and so that the $20 per tournament would cover the busing too to get them there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything about what that would like, and if there's only 5 or 6 people, they may just take a van. So it wouldn't be a bus if it's under.
Okay. Okay. I will make a motion that we approve the amendment of the 2024-25 Box Elder School District General Student Fees and deposit schedule for adding $230 amount for each participant in the newly created pickleball club at Box Elder High School.
All right. Wade has a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. All right. We're going to move on to amendment to school land trust amendments. From Keith and Heidi Jo.
So we have several schools that this is the time of year when they look over their budgets, their finances, what they have available, what needs to be spent. And they meet with their school community councils to determine if they need to maybe adjust the spending in certain categories. So that's what all of these are at this time. We sent you an email about recent audits, just letting you know some of these are because the state has asked them to look at what their rollover last year was and make sure that they're getting it spent down. So their goals are the same. Those aren't changing. It's just saying, oh, well, we spent more in employees than we anticipated, or we need more money for materials. The teachers really felt like this program would be beneficial. So that's what we're asking you to do.
And I can say to Young and Harris, it really was just a statement. And by the way, moving forward, we've asked all our administrators to have a contingency plan. We want to hire a para. We're unable to hire a para. So now everybody's going to have a contingency plan so that we don't have to go back through an amendment. And we'll do that moving forward. But that's what ours is. So there's no goal change. They're still trying to get exactly what the school community council has already wanted. It's a statement for if we cannot hire who we want to hire and finish that money, we do need to make sure that they spend below 10% carryover.
And previously that was common practice to do, but there's been some shifting at the state. So new individuals did training last year that came in and said, no, don't do that, write it into the plan. And then this year they're saying, yeah, put those back in there. It made things really nice. So that's why our people have kind of shifted back and forth.
Thank you. I was just at Fielding's Community Council yesterday, and that is exactly their situation. They were hoping to hire paras, that they haven't been able to fill those positions, and they have a good plan, and it's, yeah. Okay. All right.
I move that the Box Elder School District Board of Education approve the school land trust plans for the schools in Box Elder School District for the 2024-2025 school year.
All right. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. We now need a motion to,
Can I
Yes.
just speak to this? Neil, please help me on this one. We have on the agenda to have a closed session to discuss the purchase or sale of real property, and that is one of the allowable reasons to have a closed session. However, to be quite blunt, there's just a couple of properties that we would really like to possibly put up for sale, and I'm not 100% sure if we need to, generally you do that because you don't want to let the price out. And in my opinion, and Neil, help me on this, we would just get an appraisal of this property and put it up for sale for that. But if you want to go into closed session, there is a piece of property that I'm going to recommend, and Neil will recommend that we do purchase. So this is purchase. We want to sell one or two and purchase one.
That's correct. The process for disposing of property we currently own requires us to declare it a surplus, make it available to eligible entities, which are the first, the city which it resides in, and second, the county in which it resides in. They have then 90 days to accept the availability of the property. If they decline after 90 days, we can then put it to sale to the general public. After that 90, but within the 90 days, if they select or the opportunity to purchase that property, they have additional 90 days to obtain an appraisal, negotiate with us, and post payment for said property. So, in theory, it could take up to 180 days to dispose of or sell this property to a county or city entity, after which, if they don't conclude, they could go to the general public. So we just need to make a determination via closed session of whether we want to sell these properties, and then make a motion publicly that we would declare them as surplus, and then start that process.
so I guess the question is do we need to go into a closed session for that?
So if we're talking about buying property, I'd like to go into a
Yes,
closed
I
session for
agree.
that one.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll just do it all. And I would make a motion that we go into a closed session to discuss the purchase or sale of real property.
Second.
Okay. And we need a formal roll call. All right.
Okay, Wade Hyde, yes?
Stephanie D. Phillips, yes?
Julie Taylor, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes?
Danielle Wright, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Let's go.
We'll go into this east room. Neil, do you have the recorder to go in there?
I don't. I use my phone.
I was like, hey, your dad said you're not sure if you want to follow her. I want. She's so cute.
gooseneck with a tractor that's literally some pieces. It's just a frame and cardboard boxes of boards strapped to the trailer. They would need to know because we got a 15. I'll just one more on. That would be my wife's idea.
been to, I think, one or two in my 20 years.
All right, I think we're ready to get going.
Make a motion to come back in.
I make a motion, I'm ready to make a motion,
Great.
that we declare surplus property. We did that in there. We did that in
And
there.
did closed session in there. And voted in there.
We closed in closed session.
Yeah, so we don't have to make a motion to come back into open session.
All right,
Okay,
Karen.
that we declare surplus property of the property that the school district owns in South Willard on the east side of 89 and property the school district owns in Deweyville.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving forward to information items, we have a legislative update from Superintendent Carlson.
I think there are, I've kept the board abreast of several hot topics. I think maybe one that's already gone through both the Senate and the House is HB 267. And that was a bill that talked about collective bargaining from public entities, and basically fire, police, state roads, public education. With this bill, there's no longer an opportunity for them to be able to have collective bargaining with their leadership. And I'll just say it, we from Box Elder School District have always had a great relationship with our associations. And we encouraged our legislators to vote against that because we felt like we've been able to negotiate with them in good faith, and they've always understood that we're going to give as much as we possibly can. We will continue to do that, and there's a way, it won't be through collective bargaining, but we feel like there's a way we want to work every year with our associations. And when I say associations, basically we work with our Teachers Association, our Educational Support Professionals Association, and our Administrators Associations and Association. And when we do that, we'll sit around and talk about what's good for the employees and the things that maybe the school district feels like we need to try to implement. And then I will tell you this, Neil's new, but I know already Neil understands the need to provide as much compensation as we can to our employees, because that is where it happens, is our employees, and we hate the thought of losing anybody. We just did a report through, was it GBS? And I'm not sure why they provided us with that information, but
I requested it.
okay, thank you. And we got most of Northern Utah's teachers' salary schedules. And it shows us in Box Elder School District as the lowest district from the beginning to the end of the salary schedule. And so it's our hope and our goal to improve that and to make our employees feel more valued and less desirable to maybe look at other school districts. So that one was a tough one, and we'll just go with that. Let's see. Keith, I believe, I've looked at these a couple times. I believe it's the middle one there. Education tracker? Yeah, and now you have to click on that and then confirm that we know it's not. told this to the board, but we being the superintendents on our thread, our text thread and email thread, we're called the superintendents of the North. And I think I've said that before. It kind of makes me feel like a Viking. But I don't know why. But we've combined with Rich, Cash, Logan, and Box Elder. And we're trying to do some things in northern Utah to show some unity and to work on it. And we decided to put together this tracker, and we hired an intern. And the intern is going to Utah State University, and I've met her. I cannot think of her last name. Her first name's Grace, not my Grace. My wife's name is Grace, but Grace. And she's the one that's put together this spreadsheet that you see behind me. And they have the bills up there, where they're at. Keith, if you wouldn't mind, if you could kind of just drag that to the right. I think is that? Yes. It shows you where they're at, then it gives you some highlights of what the bill means, kind of. And to me, I've been doing this a long time, and quite frankly, this information has been some of the best information that we have. I think Lexi Cunningham does a tremendous job, but I really like this tracker. And so as you look at it, you can see some of the ones that are where they're at, and you can see where we consider them a high priority and the things that we're working on. And so I think HB 37 is a real concern for us, and we're doing all we can. We've had alerts from Lexi Cunningham, and just for the people out there, Lexi Cunningham is the executive director for the Utah School Superintendents Association, and she is the assistant executive director for the Utah School Boards Association, and she is our lobbyist on the Hill for those two entities. And we meet every Friday with a committee called the Joint Legislative Committee, JLC, and we discuss these bills in that particular JLC. There's, I believe, 18 board members that are voting members and 17 superintendents. And they always take count, and there always has to be one more board member that's voting than superintendents. And we take a position on every single bill that is concerning public education. I need to withdraw that statement. Sometimes we just pass on it because we feel like even though it's educationally, it's just not worthy of a oppose or a support. And so in this tracker here, this is even a little more comprehensive, and so that's how we find out some of this. HB 37, it is SB. Okay, I get the SBs and the HBs backwards sometimes, but it's a Senate bill, and that is a bill that's is trying to do some amendments with the minimum school program. And I don't know, Neil, I hate to put you on the spot, but I think you understand this bill where it's a little bit better nice. So what are your thoughts on this bill?
This bill changes the taxing authority structure completely. So the minimum school program is a shared revenue program between the state and the local districts. What happens is that local districts tax a minimum amount on property. In exchange for that minimum amount of tax collected locally, so the county collects a tax and remits to us, we put in our bank account. The state guarantees the WPU value, so weighted pupil unit. And we are guaranteed a minimum amount of funding across the state on average. Without that taxing authority or that minimum amount tax, we don't get the state guarantee. Every district in the state does that because the state guarantee is huge. Like I think it's like $4.7 billion of state funding we receive statewide, in exchange for collecting about $780 million of tax. So the multiplier is very significant for us. What this bill does is, instead of us receiving about $10.5 million from the county every year in November and December, that would go to the state. And then the state, and that would get deposited in the general fund. That's important because the general fund can be used by all state agencies for their budgeting purposes, whereas the income tax fund is earmarked by Constitution only for the use in education. They define education as K through 12, higher ed, and also some limited social service programs, mostly for students with disabilities and students in poverty. Think Medicaid and CHIP. The change is that $10.5 million won't come to us, won't go in bank account. We won't receive interest on it. Right now, that generates about $500,000 interest per year, equivalent to essentially 5.5 teachers or 10 paraprofessionals. Significant amount of money generated through interest for us right now. We will no longer receive that. Essentially, they are going to take our taxing authority, take the money generated from there, and use it at the state level for their purposes they see fit during this time of year when they set budgets for the rest of the year. Well, it fundamentally alters the tax collection and assessment process, and the state takes over for that portion of it. For context, we receive about $44 million in local property tax revenue every year. They will receive 10 million of that, and so that takes about a quarter of our property tax revenue and takes it out of our control completely. That is why this bill is really bad news for school districts' education.
Thank you, Neil. I think you did a really good job. It has passed the Senate. Right now it's in the House, and we've been working with Representative Peterson, and I'll tell the community that both Representative Peterson and Senator Sandel will reach out and ask us our opinion on a variety of these bills, and they've asked on this one and also that 267. I'll say this in public. We have one other representative. It's Matthew Gwynn, who represents, I know this is going to sound silly, but this is how Representative Tom Peterson explained it. If you went to the Quick Quack car wash, that is it that way? And if you drew a line from east to west, all the way to Nevada and then over to the cache, that's the line. He represents. Oh, is he really?
It goes up.
Does it?
It goes up Maine, and it's the east side of Maine.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know.
Maybe where Brian and where our line is?
It goes up that far.
Did you have Tom Peterson on your ballot? Yeah. Okay, so it's my road, probably.
So you had Matthew Gwynn. Okay, I stand corrected, but that's what Tom said. But then Matthew Gwynn represents everything south. He's actually my representative, Karen's. And I'll just say it publicly. I've engaged with him and tried to get him to come to our meetings, to send him things, and I just haven't been able to make that connection in 3 years now. He did come to one meeting at my office the day after they passed the UFA bill 2 years ago. And he came because I think Tom Peterson asked him to come. So that's, just so you know, we're working with those guys. I need to, one of the bills, and I'm not sure if it's a bill, but the Utah Fits All Scholarship, the last 2 years they put $40 million into it and then $40 million again, 41 or, it's up to $82 million right now. They're considering another $40 million. And Utah Fits All Scholarship is the scholarship where a student can get up to $8,000 for right now just about anything. And they feel like there's been a lot of, I'm not going to say they haven't used it the way they want to, so there is a bill that would limit them to 20% of it would be more in physical education type of activities. And they, no more than 20. And I mean, they've said it right on the House floor, and they buy season passes at ski resorts and call that their education. And there are students out there right now that are missing school. My concern is if it goes up to 122 million, that's about, if you take the population of Box Elder School District, which we are about 1.9% of the population, that ends up being about $1.5 million that is not coming to Box Elder School District. And I just cannot make myself believe that there are that many students in Box Elder School District, Box Elder County, that are using that scholarship. And so basically, I really believe most of this money is going to the heavily populated Wasatch Front. And it's costing Box Elder School District money that would otherwise come to us in WPU, that would otherwise go to teachers in salaries. And so therefore, I've not been a huge legislative guy in my career, but every time we have, and Tiffany's been there, every time we get a chance to talk about the UFA, I speak and I speak loud, and I even use swear words sometimes. Not bad ones, the best ones that you can use, if there are any that are good. I know you're not, anyway. So I just think this is another thing that's a problem is when they put this bill into place, they hired a separate vendor, and it's called ACE. I think just ACE. I don't know if it has. And there's no accountability. We don't know who is getting that money in anywhere in the county. They've had kind of a scatter plot map where they show some clusters and things like that, but we don't know where the money's going, and that's so non-transparent of what public money should be doing. So I get a chance once in a while to stand on my soapbox about something. I think the UFA is a direct attack at public education. I'm just going to say that in an open meeting, and if somebody wants to tell me different, I hope they do.
They spend a lot on advertising too.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Let me see. There's another one that I thought was interesting. It's one of the ones I put on as an attachment. It's a homeschool bill, and it clarifies more what homeschool is and what it isn't. And I think as you read that bill, you'll see that pretty much all a person has to do is sign an affidavit. They want to go homeschool, and there's no other connection with the family and the school district. And there's still no law or anything that says they even have to sign the affidavit and to be homeschooled. They can just keep their kids home, and there's nothing really that can happen. There is a class size reduction modification. We receive X amount of dollars for class size reduction, and the bill runners said, well, I don't see why that's helping class size, but it just pretty much gets put into the system, and then you have to show that you're reducing class size. I think now they want to put it strictly in K2. Before it used to be, I've dealt with this bill for most of my career. It used to be you could use it anywhere. You just had to show where you're using it. Then it went to K6. Now I think they're going to K2. To whatever money we have to say, instead of hiring 3 teachers in a building for 85 kids, we're hiring 4 teachers for 85 kids. So we're changing class sizes from 27 or 28 to 20-ish, 21 or 22. How was my math, Keith? Just from the top of my head. Thank you.
If we only had the classrooms.
If we only had the classrooms to put all those kids in. Thank you. Anything else that you find interest in? Or Keith's been handling our school fees. You want to report on that?
House Bill 344 it was our school fee last year. Right now, the way it sits, and it hasn't passed yet, but the current state of the way it's written is for this upcoming year, we would eliminate fees in math, science, language arts, social sciences, and health. So that would take, now those aren't our most expensive courses. Obviously, our most expensive courses are certain arts and CTE courses. So the way it's written, we still could pay, but it won't be this blanket. This idea that we say $91 for a high school kid or $80 for a middle school kid, and you get to take any class you want. Right now, that's being eliminated. So unfortunately, the way it's written right now, it's going to be per class. So a parent will sign up with their kids these courses, and it's all going to have a dollar amount on it. And so if I sign up for it and it's more expensive, I have to pay for that more expensive. Fee waivers are still in place, so that bar is still there. But I do worry, my big concern is having everybody have a chance instead of only those families that have the extra money to say, I want to take welding, that's $25. I want to take pottery, that's $40. And so, but if I don't have the $40, now we have a student that potentially, now, again, there is a bar for fee waivers, but that bar from fee waivers up to wherever that ouch is, So I'm a little concerned about that for sure. Also, the way it's written, next year, 26-27, the rule will be same rule, unless it's tweaked, but we will be required to offer a free route, one route, where a kid can get 30 credits and not pay a fee and not have to qualify for a fee waiver. So we would then, over the course of the whole year, meet with each of our administrators, and we would come up with a district to say, if a kid wants to pay, we already have no math, no science, no language arts, no health, no social sciences, but they need 1.5 credits of CTE, 1 credit, 1.5 for arts. So we'd have to create 1.5. You have to take this route, that'll get you your art. You'll have to take 1 CTE, these are the class you have to take. So we have to provide one route that a family could say, that's the route I'm gonna take. I don't have to qualify for a fee waiver. The other option is we could find it through other mechanisms, maybe raise some money so that there are no fees, then kids can just come to school and take whatever class they want. We know from previous discussions that would be about $613,000 annually if we just eliminated fees altogether. So that's our status. I'm not sure where it's gonna go, but that one's one that's pretty concerning. Also, yes.
Sorry,
Yeah,
what was the bill number again?
It's House Bill 344. I didn't see it in here, Superintendent, and I'm wondering if maybe this grace could tweak that. I will just tell you something you might be of interest. There's House Bill 396 is some NEST funds, and so far we think that one's favorable. Also, there's an old history teacher that's now a legislator that has House Bill 381 for civics education, and they're proposing adding another 0.5 credit for civics education for high school seniors along with government, but eliminating the civics test. So if that passes, all of a sudden now you have a 0.5 credit, which could impact elective social sciences, or we have to hire more teachers. Anyway, anytime you increase graduations. So that's something that's out there as well. And I think that's probably interesting enough. SB 170, there's some school discipline for seclusion and restraint. I don't know all the details, but per our public comment today, that may be something that SB 170, yep. And then there's a bill called SB 39. This is looking at the opportunity to perhaps have RISE testing back up through 10th grade instead of just ending it at 8th grade, getting rid of Aspire Plus and adding a RISE test in math, science, and language arts in ninth grade and 10th grade. So stay tuned, but a lot of stuff happening, and it does affect our teachers. It affects our schools. It affects our kids. It affects our parents. And that's why it's so important that we get out and vote and get people that will be a listening ear. And Representative Peterson's been amazing and responsive, asking lots of questions.
Yeah,
he's the one that seems to be the most connected with me personally. But I think, Superintendent, you've had Senator Sandel as well. So we're grateful for that. And any questions, I'll be done.
House Bill 344 is still in committee, so
Yeah, so there's some angst about that. So right now they're in the middle of what are we going to do?
Okay.
If I could just, and I know Keith mentioned the NEST bill, the Necessary Existent Small Schools, with Melissa in the crowd. I think she'd be happy to know that right now we've got really good reception from Karen Peterson's running a bill for the Necessarily Existent Small Schools that would hold us harmless. There are districts that would get a little bit more, but last year there was a push, and districts of our size, kind of the more medium-sized districts that have rural schools like our western schools, was going to take a hit because we were big enough. They thought we'd be able to absorb that hit more than we are. But right now, we're being held harmless. So and it's really positive looking. And they're actually looking at adding, I think, an extra $16 million to it. And so that's good news. Just to be held harmless is really good news.
Superintendent, I have one to add to the list as well.
Okay.
It's House Bill 402, Foods Available at Schools Amendment. I mentioned it to Neil and Heidi Joe. It's being sponsored by Representative Kristen Chevrier. I don't know who she is or where she's from, but it will prohibit certain food additives from being served in a public school. So, and it will. I think I told them it would take effect for next school year, but it says beginning 2026-27 school year. It's not a bad bill. I'm not opposed to it, but it would have a large impact on anything we serve for school lunch. So.
Okay, I'll check on that. We do have JLC again this Friday.
So it shows it was yesterday. It was moved to standing committee.
That is one that the JLC decided to move on from, for whatever, I can't remember why, but we didn't take a position on it. Catherine, I was wondering if you would mind looking at a bill and just getting back to me, just so that when it comes up in JLC again, because it will, we moved on from this one as well, is Senate Bill 170, and it's a school discipline amendments, and had some things to do with your area. So. Okay. Okay. Maybe you could get. Okay. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Could I just make one more mention? I've often wondered, like, what's the best way to get a hold of these? I mean, they're busy. They've got all these bills. I don't know how they keep track of it. But the power is a text message. And the CTE teachers, when they heard that all their fees couldn't charge them, there was over 1,000 in the district, or not in the district, but in the state of Utah, that were sending text messages to these, is it Senator Strong? Anyway, who wrote the bill. I mean, and they were heard. I mean, the power of sending a text, and we have all the information, it's online, but you can send a text or an email. They're not going to get to an email, but a text, ding, 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 over and over and over again. So, to the 5 people watching, but anybody that would like to have a feeling of impact, it's texting these good people and letting your voice be heard, and, that's part of the process. So. Good.
I was just curious, when I was at the day at the Capitol with the other school board members, they were doing a big push on putting pause, like that was their comment. I'm just curious, from previous years, have we seen much of a pause? Like, are they?
It grows every year.
So they didn't.
I think currently did they say 68 bills the other day? And I wouldn't be surprised. And it's push pause is what they're saying. And I'll just say it, when it came to the Utah Fits All Scholarship, I said, push pause isn't working. We need to say hell no. And just so that was the naughty word I said. So I think sometimes push pause is just being really nice. And the problem is in a few minutes in this agenda, if I stop talking, but I want to explain, we are going to have a first reading and a second reading on I'm not sure how many policies. And all of those policies were once upon a time bills, probably in the 24 legislative session. And they go through the session, they get the session over with. It takes a time for the Utah School Board of Education to read through those bills. And then also the Utah School Board Association has an attorney that reads the bills. They then send us model policies, and it usually takes until about June. So we have to start in June with about, 15 to 20 bills that then turn into our own policies that we have to read and put into our policy manual to be able to follow. Now, in lieu of having it in our policy manual, if it's a law, we still have to follow the law, but it's always easier to have it in our own policy manual. The point I'm bringing up here is, every district is so, we put so much time into this. We spend, we have a meeting usually every Thursday, or in this case, it was Tuesday prior to the board meeting. We have a committee that has 2 board members on it. It has teacher representatives, it has principals, it has all of the district office directors and assistant superintendents. And we each take a bill, we look at it, at length, we read through it, we compare it with the model policies, we look at the Utah code, we look at the Utah administrative rule, and we end up with what we present to the board in the first reading, the best product that we think will help us follow the law, but also help Box Elder School District educate students. And the reason we're saying push pause is we have so many of these bills that uses up so much of our time, and then we have to go out and explain to our teachers, our principals, our support staff, all of the different things that we have to do, and it changes from year to year to year. And it really, quite frankly, is at times quite overwhelming. And so I just wanted to talk about that process. When you say push pause, please just slow down on the number of educational bills that come out, because it just really takes up a lot of our time.
Really quick, one of the things at JLC that we push so often when we listen to about a bill is that so many things should be local control, not coming from the state or by a legislator who lives in a district far, far away, right? That affects us in one way or another. That so much of it is local control, because our professionals here at Box Elder School District are so capable of taking care of so many things that we don't need it legislated from the state.
Well, there are bills that are also taking away some of the power of this Board of Education. And so that when it says local control, it's really pulling the rug out from underneath this group of locally elected officials.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Carlson. Moving on to our monthly financial report.
Do you have that up there? Our financial report is actually pretty boring. And that's a good thing. So I always say that we have sufficient revenues to honor all of our current obligations. We don't have any budget surprises in here. Our revenue is on track. We collected about 93% of our property tax revenue, which historically is average. We collect overall usually about 95%. And so we may have a few more stragglers coming in this year. We're on track for our spending targets within a few percentage points. We'll examine that as we get closer to the end of the year to see if we need to do a budget revision. I do anticipate that we'll do a new budget towards May to account for a lighting upgrade that we did that wasn't contemplated in our original budget. So we spent about $3.4 million on a lighting upgrade in about half of our schools. And that contract was signed in October, so we'll need to amend our budget to account for that new expenditure later on this year. With that contract, we are slated to save the equal amount on energy as we expend in the lighting upgrade over the lifespan of the lighting upgrade. So in the end, it will be a net zero cost to us, but upfront cost about $3.4 million. Also included in here is an update to the revenue numbers from the state. They update the programs as they get our new data from last year, and they incorporate it into their formulas. We gained about $600,000 in new revenue above the legislative estimates. And that is our financial report, because it's pretty boring. We're in good position. We don't have any big things to worry about.
A question, not so much about what you just went over, but with what we're hearing, that the federal government may be pushing education just down to the states, getting out of that business, how will that affect us as far as revenues?
So that really won't affect the revenue, because our budgets at the federal level are appropriated by Congress, much like the budgets in our state level are appropriated by the legislator, the state and the Senate. Sorry, the Senate and the House. And so when they appropriate a budget, they appropriate line items for education in certain areas. And then that goes through the budgeting process. Certain amount is for operations of the Department of Education. In theory, we could receive more money because the Department of Education have less overhead. I think in that scenario, more likely they would appropriate less funds for education in general to account for that lesser administrative burden. However, the money that comes to us is by formula, and usually by population counts. Those aren't going to change unless they change the law. So they require a change in the law, and I'll use IDA example, special education. They would have to change the formula in law for the IDA Act. It's called Individual Disability Education Act. They'd have to change that by both sides, House and Senate. I don't foresee that happening because of the structure of the U.S. Senate requires 60% of members to vote yes to stop debate to vote on something. There's only 54 Republicans in that Senate. I don't foresee any major legislative changes coming forward. I don't feel there's a lot of cooperation at that level for them to do that. More than likely, our federal funding will not be changed for the programs for which we receive funding for.
Thank you.
Yes.
One thing to add is it is about 7% of our budget. So, and it's basically Title I, SPED, and food service, lunch
But
fees.
the National School Lunch Program is separate from the Department of Education, so I
Okay.
read that would not be affected
Okay,
at
good
all.
deal.
That is part of the Department of Agriculture, and so that it would not be affected as much. And basically, they reimburse us on a per meal basis.
Yeah.
So there's very little overhead we receive from that.
So the Reader Digest version is, it shouldn't affect us really negatively.
Would not anticipate much of effect at all.
Neil, I have a question. On line 170 for Golden Spike, it's a negative 25,000. Did we get a refund for something?
Let me
Sounds like good news.
get to that point there. Line 170.
Yeah.
Let me see here. That's the year-to-date spending. So yes, sir. More than likely, something was coded to the wrong area, and we backed that charge out and moved it to another area, and that's why there's a negative. But that's the
Okay.
only charge there.
Well, a refund sounded nicer, but that's okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm just really just curious how our lunch, are people paying their lunch money?
We're in very good position. We have about $20,000 of unpaid meals. Canyon School District has $400,000 unpaid meals.
Any more discussion, questions? Thank you, Neil.
Sure.
Appreciate that report. All right, board committee reports. I realize that you just received new committee reports or committees today, assignments, but does anyone have any reports from committees that have held meetings?
I just want to do a shout out to the Boys and Girls Club who sponsored our STEM fair again in January. Forget the date, but Ben could probably give us the exact numbers, but I bet there was probably about 1,000 students that went through there.
There's over 1,200.
1,200, I was
Wow.
being conservative.
We had to bust them all. Yes, thank you.
And the students seemed to be pretty engaged the whole time, a lot of excitement and energy. So just a thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for helping us with that. Actually, for doing that so that we could participate.
That's awesome. Thank you. I know the foundation, the school district foundation has had, last night was their combined choir concert with Box Elder and Bear River with the guest conductor, and it was awesome. Those kids just did an amazing job and a really good turnout. That place was packed. Box Elder High School's auditorium. There wasn't a seat, was there? The orchestra and band concerts, I don't have those dates right in front of me, but they're coming right up. I would highly recommend if you can make it to one of those concerts. It's really outstanding. We'll make sure to email those to you. Okay?
Tiffany, I just, and you may have answered this and I don't know because maybe I didn't listen very well, which could be.
I doubt it.
I know we were assigned to certain schools to go to, which is great.
Right.
But I know in the past we've usually gone through Marcy and she has scheduled those for us. Do you want us to do that again so she kind of keeps everything organized and she calls the principals and tell them ahead of time? What do you think?
I'll let you answer that.
I think that probably isn't as necessary as maybe it used to be. I think it'd probably just easier, for you to contact. I will say this.
I just wondered.
there, you know, when you show, I need to be just upfront with you. When you show up as a board member at a building, all ears are perked, and it might be taking principals away from observations, supervision, and all those types of things. And so if you gave them a heads up, it would probably help. And just so you know, the power you hold by the position of which you have really can get the juices flowing, for lack of a better word.
Superintendent, Heidi Jo suggested that we send this list to the principals so they know who their board member is, and then if they know they have a community council meeting coming up, they could maybe
Even invite them.
just add their assigned board member to the invite.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
And maybe give their name to their PTA or PTO president and our contact information as well.
Good idea. We can do
And
that.
I'm sure, like, I just made an appointment, a couple of weeks ago to ask if I could meet with Mr. Lee. And I asked his secretary, and she booked me an appointment to come to the high school and do that. So thank you for bringing that up, because.
Well, I just don't want to,
Yeah,
I mean,
we-
just to show up, I
Sure.
agree. It's not a good
Yeah.
thing. So, because
Right.
it does take them away from other things. So
I'm
to
glad-
call ahead of time is a good idea.
Right. I'm glad we had this conversation, so that's clear that we make an appointment before we just show up.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks,
Thank
Wade.
you.
All right. Anything else on committee reports?
We met as the facility advisory committee, but we already discussed that
Okay.
with Corey, so.
All right. All right, let's move on to policy review.
Did you have something you were going to say?
No, I just wanted to say that first one was approved in negotiated agreement, and I'm kind of curious where our negotiated agreement, we need to have a lot of information as we learn more about that bill, so see what that happens. But that one was approved in a negotiated agreement last spring, and we are just getting around to it, so that's all I've got on that.
As I looked through them, on policy 1012, we had that one last time. We talked about the 30 days before boundary changes. That's still in there, so I don't know. Was there anything changed? I couldn't see anything that was changed in that one from last month when we brought it forward. I don't, we talked about 30 days is not a lot of time to give families notice, and if there is an extenuating circumstances, I think that the law already allows us to make changes. If there was like somebody says, well, what if there was a flood or an earthquake? And I think the law would already allow us to do that. But for business as normal, I would hope that we would give more than 30 days notice to people if we changed boundaries. So I would like to see that amount increased.
Would you like to make a motion to have that? Go ahead, Heidi Jo.
If I recall correctly, we discussed that in policy review meeting, and the determination was made that that was 30 days after the board made the decision to put it into place, right? So after hearing the public comment, that they would then put it into place within the 30 days. Do you remember that, Stephanie? And Wade?
Vaguely, but that sounds right. So
Yeah, I believe that's what was said, yes.
So the distinction was made that that was after it's already been announced in a school board meeting, and we've taken public comment on it for a couple of months, that then it would be put in place within that period of time.
So does it give an amount of time that we would start that process?
It says 90 days before approving the closure.
The
But is it only a
closure.
closure,
Yeah, that's only
it took out
closure.
boundary change.
Yeah, the boundary change, I didn't see a time frame.
The process for approving a change to a school boundary must be completed no more than 60 days after the day on which board votes to approve the change.
Right, so after
And
the
then-
board votes, then we have to make it happen within 60 days, but going back, how much time, like Danielle read, for a closure, we have to do 90 days, take 90 days of comment, but I don't think it has that in there for the
That had to be
boundary
separate on
change.
there, too.
I'm reading through and it's very long,
Yeah, it is.
the code, Utah code. Trying to see where it talks about that. If you click on the code underneath that particular section.
Under item G, like it says, notice of hearing on a boundary change.
It's 30 days.
It has 30 days, and then that's the notice to have the hearing. You have to have 30 days, and then you have the public hearing, and we have to have 2 of those. So, I mean,
So it's the same process, whether it's a boundary change or
Yeah.
a closure, is that?
No,
the process for approving a
closure-
change must be completed no more. But like but in G, it says notice of hearing on boundary change. So if we're gonna make a boundary change, we have to have 30 days notice
For a hearing.
to have the public hearing or proposed boundary change. It'll state the name of it. This notice shall be provided at least 30 days before the date of the hearing. And then we have to have 2 I'm just in my mind thinking 30 days, we have 30 days that's 30 days before we have the hearing.
Where are you reading that you have to have
G.
2 hearings? No, I see the 30 days.
Oh.
I don't.
I thought that was, I don't know, I'm not
I-
reading that in here,
no,
I'm
I
just saying,
didn't
I thought
see
we
it.
had to have 2 hearings, I thought that was
I
just.
didn't see this 2 hearings, so, yes.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
well, but if we have
think we
30
have to do
days
2
notice
on
before the
fees.
hearing, and then you have a
Fees.
hearing, and then you have 60 days to make the change.
In D1, it says, before taking action to close a school,
So that's closure, which
the
is
board
different.
shall hold at least 2 board meetings.
To change a boundary area.
So D is on closing, right?
And E is on boundary.
And on E for boundary change, it's hold a public hearing. So 1.
Well, I think
So
it
if-
does say at least 30 days, and I know that's saying at least 30 days. I know that short of some real crisis and some really significant issue happening, that we're going to give them a lot more notice than that. Where it says at least, that is the very least we can do, so
Right, I'm just wondering, would anybody be opposed if we matched it with the 90 days for closure?
I think that ties us into, I think we're gonna make the right choice with flexibility, and so if we do that 90 days, then I don't think it's necessary, I guess. I think we're just trying to tighten everything down too much, which there's unforeseen things that we may not know about, and in our general practices, I don't think we're gonna, I don't know.
So at least, you're saying, Julie, if
Like,
I
I
understand,
think that at least gives us-
30 days gives us some more flexibility, which in some situation we may need.
Right. That's what I think.
We'd need more flexibility on changing a boundary than closing a school. I'm just saying, I think they should be the same. But,
Would you like to make a motion then?
I was asking if other people were opposed to that. And
I believe that if you've had a public hearing already and the parents are totally aware what's going to happen, then I think 30 additional days from that public hearing, I think, is more than enough time. I don't think it has to be stretched out further than that. I mean, it could if
and mine
But it's
isn't
just saying
from
at
the
least
public
30
hearing, mine is
days.
going back from the public, so that you've got more than 60 days to decide a boundary change. But
Well, it says in the code on section 24F II, parents of students enrolled in a school affected by a boundary change shall have at least 30 days after the day on which the local board votes to approve a school boundary change to request an out-in-area enrollment request. So there's the 30 days. That might not answer that one.
my whole concern is I think that we wouldn't want to do a boundary change with only 60 days. You've got 30 days for a public hearing and 30 days for the decision before it needs to be put in place. I would just think in trying to give the public more notice, to be more transparent, we would want more time involved.
Well, I just don't, I think that if you have the 30 days, that doesn't mean you can't go 45 days. I mean, doesn't mean that. We just can't say, oh, you're moving in 30 days. If you don't like it, that's tough. We're not going to do that.
Can I ask a question? Do you remember several years ago when they changed the boundaries for Garland and they moved Factory Street? How long were, because I feel like that happened right before school started. Am I remembering that right?
No, you're not.
Okay, well, so how long did they have to know that?
We spent several months
So
during the
they
previous,
knew.
before the previous school year.
Okay.
We spent, it was a long time.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was in the spring, so they knew certainly by the end of the school year that they were going to.
Oh, okay.
It was, and that's
Yeah.
why I said, I think it's business as normal. We do that.
Yeah.
I would want to make sure that the public knows that we try and include them and not make fast decisions. But that
I guess
is
my,
just-
my point of bringing that up just was
Yeah.
if there was an example of why we would only want the 30 days, that it would be a good thing to have, or if it, like, does it give us an option to make a decision that would be good for students on something that, I don't know, when we have growth, I don't know. I was just wondering if there's
Yeah.
a good reason to have it shorter versus a closure.
And I think that that's where it gives us the flexibility. There's things we just don't know. So if the code says you need to have at least 30 days, I think that gives us in best practices, what we've done is we've done several weeks, months, whatever. But if there is a situation, it gives us the flexibility that we need to make changes and unforeseen things that we may or may not know about.
So I will just leave it at that I've noted concern there. Then I just wanted to say thank you, because it, down on 5272, looks like that it was added in the wording that there would be consideration of all students and parents. So thank you for adding that.
I'll make a motion that we approve all policies on, well, which one did we?
First reading.
And the deleted one, or the review only, is that?
That's just a review.
Yeah,
We don't need to
Yeah,
make
just-
smash.
yeah.
Okay, so all policies on first reading.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, moving on to second reading. Do we have a motion?
I was gonna say, on this one, I talked down at the USBA about the wording of 6060 to the gentleman that was doing the legal, there was legal issues, one of the breakouts. And he and I talked, and he looked at it and he said that he thought that that would actually make it may take away the ability for teachers and administrators, as it creates a higher burden of proof from what they're already doing. He says, I think if there's anything right now that somebody brings in an electronic device that creates a disruption right now, that teachers and administrators have the authority to say, hey, you're taking away from the education environment. By putting this in here, significantly impairs academic excellence, which is on page 6, number 4, that it actually makes it a higher burden of proof for the district. He said he didn't think that that would be a good policy. I know last time when I brought it up, they said it's just the way the board reads, the board book, I don't know what you called it. But
Utah administrative rule is this one. What page is this on?
page 6. Sorry, I need to get in there.
Did you say number 4, Karen? 6, number
Yeah,
4?
I'm trying to get there.
Number 4.
Oh, on even the right one here.
Oh, right there, okay. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, I got it.
So I guess our job is to make good policy. I don't know that that is good policy. I understand that, somebody higher than us maybe thought it was. This is where I think the superintendent was saying it. We've got lawmakers that are taking away our ability to make good policy. But, I mean, I would challenge anybody to make a case why we would want to have such a high burden of proof before we could ask somebody to stop interrupting student learning.
They could claim, well, I'm not significantly impairing.
That's what the attorney that I talked to, he says, how are you gonna quantify significantly?
Was he suggesting that we say that the teacher administrator can restrict use at any time?
He said he thought that that was already in place. I think if we just take out the word significantly, that it impairs academic activities, that would, I mean, that's what we want, right? If there's something that's impacting academic activities, do we want to worry about the bar?
They're passing a bill that they can't have electronic devices out at all.
Right, this is guests though, so this is somebody coming into the school that does something, so.
I just remember this conversation because the language was from Utah Code, and then and so I think that I don't care what we do with it, honestly. I trust our administrators to do correctly. I think a lot of the verbiage in these bills is like impair. What does that mean, impair? I mean, I could argue that one either way too. And so that's where I get, like, I don't know if it's valuable use of our resources to, like, consider all the ins, outs, and ups. Because I mean, if I was a legal person, I have a son that could argue everything that, you know what I mean. So I'm not saying that, I honestly don't care one way or another on this, but I do think that sticking with code is, I don't think it hurts us either, it doesn't hurt us, and I think that legal action and argument could be had on either several policies. And if we had to spend the time going through all the policies doing that, I think that's not a valuable use of.
I don't know, I consider that my job. As a board member, my job is to set policy and help with budgets. So, I don't know, that's my concern. Again, I will note it. If there's not support to do anything about it, all I can do is note it.
So just question, with the significantly, can we just take that out? I mean, can we? Is there repercussions? Like, if
Well,
this.
then anybody that goes in and has a cell phone, then they're in violation.
No, it has to impair academic.
Oh, you're saying take out
Significantly.
significantly.
There are probably 3 words that I would venture to say is questionable. One is significantly, one is impairs, and one is excellence. If you want to change it, guests are prohibited from using an electronic device in a way that impacts academic activities. Then let the administrators do their job.
And that's, I just don't want to take.
But you can make a motion
Yeah.
and
I just
change the
don't want to
wording.
take things away from administrators. I think that this might take away what they already have.
But I mean, there's 3 words there that are undefinable. I mean, if you really want to say excellence, well, what's
Well, and I did that too. So what were your 3 words?
Significantly,
significantly
impairs, and
impairs?
excellence.
I
But
don't
what-
like the word impairs. That
Yeah.
feels
How
like I'm
did you
drunk.
reword it, I guess is what
So
I.
guests are prohibited from using an electronic device in a way that impacts academic activities.
I think it's a little bit what Heidi Jo did just today when we took pictures. You asked, wasn't it you that asked if you know, if
they
that's
mind if it's-
that's part of what this is, and this is if they're in a gymnasium taking videos of their kids, you know, and that's not significant. But if they're in a classroom, I think the minute somebody's in a classroom and does this, it's significant. And we've had parents try to do that. Am I correct on that, Heidi Jo? We know exactly one for sure. And so I think significant is pretty easily defined as if it impairs the education at all, that's significant. But I also think we can take it out and it's not going to really matter because we've already spent a significant amount of time on this issue. And I really don't think it's going to have an
If
impact
you got rid of
on
the red,
education.
it does tell you the things that are really a struggle.
Yeah.
If you look in the black that's already there. When using school connectivity, guests are prohibited from using an electronic device to bully, humiliate, harass, or intimidate students, school employees, or other guests, and from using electronic devices in any way which violates local, state, or federal laws. All of those are significantly impairing an activity. It just, so maybe the red's not, it was part of the model policy, but maybe the red's not necessary. Because really, 4 tells you the things that we're struggling with, those that are in black.
So would you think it would be okay to get rid of the red in that instance, in that paragraph? Or would you?
I think you gotta change 3 words, or you need to get rid of it, or you just leave it as a model policy and go from there.
So I'm okay to go with the 3 words you said. So
Make the
Well,
motion.
Yeah, you have to make a motion.
well, I don't remember your words, Keith.
Guests are
What he said
also
you could-
prohibited from using electronic device in a way that impacts academic activities.
I would make a motion that we pass the items on, the policies on second reading with a change that was just mentioned. That impacts academic activities.
I'll second that. Can I do that?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
May I?
Yes.
Mrs. West, do you have that verbiage down? Okay. I just want to make sure that, and between you and Neil, we have the appropriate terminology. Thank you.
I'm not sure I can say it.
I got it for you, Keith. I've heard it.
I was making notes on the other policy still about the 30, 60 day. I'm gonna take that off.
Could you pick up the pace a little?
I am trying really hard to follow.
All right, moving on to board discussion items. Superintendent.
On the April board meeting, I believe that it is the 11th. Does that? Let me get my calendar quick.
No, it's the 9th.
It's the 9th. Neil and I both have a meeting to be able to have everything explained to us on the morning of the 10th in St. George. And so I don't see how we can make it. I'm making them, see if there's a possibility of changing it to the 16th. Also, spring break is a week before that, which makes it difficult for us to have our general agenda meetings, our policy meetings. So the 16th would help tremendously in both ways. I'm sorry I didn't look at my calendar. I usually don't know what's going on next week, but for some reason I looked into April and saw that, and I thought it'd be really nice if we could have the 9th to drive down to St. George to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely. All right. Everybody got that on their calendar, or do you have a problem?
Does the 16th work?
We're good.
No.
We can approve it in next board meeting. I just wanted to make sure, and we can, make it known now.
All right, moving on to board member reports. We don't need to review those committee assignments. Sorry that that's on there, but if any of you have a report, now's the time.
What night was it? Monday night, Golden Spike PTO did a glow-in-the-dark family dance party in the gym. It was a lot of fun. My kids really enjoyed it. They handed out glow bracelets and had black lights and disco lights in the gym. So it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of tag as well as dancing, but that was a lot of fun. They do a really good job there. And for ACYI, I know they went to the STEM fair, and I heard from my son and his friends how much they enjoyed that. And then they also had an assembly, I think yesterday, that the intermediate band and orchestra played for all the 6th grade students, trying to recruit more to orchestra and band. And then they have their second tri-band concert coming up next week on the 20th. No, not, yes, I think it's on the 20th. And it is a lot of fun. I'd never been to a band concert before last trimester, and they did a really good job. Dr. Fulmer's doing a really great job at ACYI. My son very much enjoys his class. He's trying, he's Like, I'm ready to take it third trimester. I'm like, you can't. There's other things on your schedule you have to meet, but.
Thank you.
I also got to visit Garland Elementary. They'd started their White Ribbon Week this last week, and so they had a big assembly, and it was really good. And the kids, they had some people present, and they had some of the 5th grade student council memorize lines, and it was just really fun, and the teachers participated. It was a good assembly. And then I ran over to McKinley and got to go to their PTA meeting, which was just really fun to be there. They were so appreciative, and they just had questions, and it was just really great to represent the board, even though I don't know all the answers. I pretend. No, I don't pretend. I tell them where to go if I don't know where to go, or if I don't know what to say. But it was just really good, and I felt like they appreciated it a lot. And then I went to North Park for their community council, and again, it was just nice to be able to answer questions and to be able to hear what their plans are. They actually didn't go over, what is it that they do? The TSSA plan?
TSS.
My first acronym.
Yes.
That I remember. They didn't go over that on that meeting, but they're working hard to get their portables ready to be used, and they're a good school. They're trying to make everything work, even though they're old. Yeah.
Okay. Any others? Thank you. We will move on to our a USBI conference report. I know we've done this in the past, and people have just shared what they found really interesting at the USBA conference.
It does.
Do you have a class that?
I'll just start. I thought it started off nice with the piano guy. I thought it was a really positive way to start, and it kind of set the tone for the whole conference. The conference is always good, a lot of good breakout sessions, but I really enjoyed the first the opening night. I thought that really set a nice tone.
Yep. Was anyone? I know the superintendent went with Easton and had raving reviews about the student board members that they did. I wish
yes,
Easton was here.
They did a really nice job, and they've got some thoughts and ideas, and I've asked Easton to report on that. I did that prior to knowing that he couldn't be here tonight. So next month we'll remember to have him talk about it. I took a couple pictures I'd like to share that night, and his parents were there in the back. It was standing room only in that particular session, and I will say that Easton represented Box Elder School District very, very well in just the way he communicates, the thoughts he had. Just proud to have him as one of our student board members, or as our student board member.
That's awesome. Any other thoughts that you'd like to share on the conference?
I went to one with Representative Wilcox on school security, and a lot of the other districts had things, they were talking about things. I don't know if we're doing them or not, so I would like to do maybe a work session in the next month or two where we're told what's going on with our security. He was asking about funding. I don't know, a lot of the boards were upset about not having enough funding to implement all that was needed. So I just would like to be brought up to speed on that.
It's a great idea. And Brian and Danielle, maybe you can help us get that school security stuff, that information that we'd love to have that. I'm sure Corey has some.
And Tony for Durber.
Tony, yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make note of that for a work session.
Of note, we just applied for a school safety grant. There's $48 million available statewide, and it's a competitive grant, and there's a committee of about 24 members. Some of the superintendency at the state board, some staff members from the state board, as well as legislative representatives, and get the name of the new committee, what the school safeties are for the state is also on that committee to review requests, review resources, and allocate funding based on those needs.
Great, thank you.
My favorite session was presented by UNA District. It was called All Systems Go, Leveraging Well-Aligned Systems to Support Student Learning. And they created a system that they tie everything into. They've based it off of the 4 disciplines of execution. It's a book, and that focuses on picking a wildly important goal and having everyone working towards that goal in your, flowing it down to every member of your staff is working towards the same goals. and having measurable things that they can notice, you know, dashboards and stuff like that, that you can see where you're at easily on your goal. I reached out to them and got their presentation, so I can share that with everyone. But I think it would be a good idea for a work session too, moving forward with what we want to do. You know, what is our wildly important goal, you know, with moving forward with capital budgets and stuff like that. So, thank you. Any others?
Superintendent, was it Lexi Cunningham that gave the legislative update? Yeah. So I went out and talked to her afterwards to kind of add to Superintendent what you discussed. And I remember the first state board conference that I went to, they were talking about how we have all these bills and we need to slow them down. And, you know, that was what, 12 years ago? And so here we are 12 years later doing the same thing. So I asked, well, we've been talking about this, how do we make it happen? And nobody seems to know, but Superintendent, when you talk to our legislators, what's their feeling on that? Do they have any input on how we can not push pause, but just stop?
Well, I think part of the problem is, for example, I'm trying to think of exactly which bill it was, but it was a bill proposed, and come to find out it was a neighbor of one of the, I don't know if it was a senator or a representative, that had a beef, and they ran a bill to change the whole state for their beef. And so I luckily our representatives, I know Senator Sandel's been involved with the Nest bill. I think he had his name on another one that affected education, but that's really the only effect we can have is on our own legislators, or send letters to everybody else and say, please push pause and let us catch our breath. So we've been talking about that, and I don't know what the answer is, Brian. I really feel badly because people get on, they run, and some of them are really education minded. Lincoln Fillmore, for instance, he has a ton of bills, and I will just say this in public meeting because I know that he makes a living in the charter school world. I'm not sure exactly if he develops them, funds them, or what it is, but Senator Lincoln Fillmore has a ton of bills that affect public education. And I think the one that Neil talked about, that minimum school program, I believe that was his bill. Is that
It is.
And so why he's doing some of the things he's doing, and he runs several bills. There's a representative named Candace Perucci that's run bills, and she seems to be really interested in public education. She actually ran the Utah Fits All Scholarship. I believe she was a rookie, a freshman House member. So the word is that she ran it based on the party's desire. So I don't know what the answer is, Brian, sorry.
Well, maybe where we start is next time we meet with them, is there some data we could put together of how many hours our district, and then we multiply that to districts across the state, how many hours, how many people we employ to do these and we're getting frustrated tonight with trying to come up with words to implement state law. Maybe if we present some data to them, and unless there's their help, how do we do that? I don't know. Just an idea.
Another option is to write to the governor's office as well. He has veto power, and express that same. He expressed a year or two ago that the amount of bills was too many, but then he didn't veto any of them. So that's another option.
Maybe some data would help provide some ammunition. I don't know.
At the end of the session, we'll find out how many bills were ran and how many passed, how many, we always have that information, and I think go back 4 or 5 years and they have that information so we can bring it forward and just say, look at this unbelievable amount of bills. And, and I don't know if this is the end game, but I've heard this: in order to destroy a organization, you over-mandate and you underfund. and it concerns me, and I just hope that's not some unwritten rule that's trying to go on here. And I feel like I'm going out on a limb saying stuff like that in a public meeting, but we feel over-regulated and underfunded, and it just seems like it's just becoming bigger and bigger.
It's not just education. We have a poster where I work. If you know who Warner von Braun is, famous scientist that was father of rocketry. What he was quoted as saying, "We've licked gravity, but it's the paperwork we can't figure out." So it's not just education or government.
Something that I thought was really interesting when I went, this isn't at the board or the conference, but when I went to the stay at the Capitol, the or I don't know if he's a senator or House rep, but he's white and he's over the public education board there. Anyway, he was talking about how the state, you know, we're underfunded, right? That's what you guys just said. And he said their perspective is that we have this amount of money, that they just want us to reprioritize where that money is going. Not necessarily that it's not funded, but you already have money to do what they want, but they don't want you to do stuff that they don't want you to do, that we are already paying for. Anyway, it was a whole thing, but it was really interesting to hear his perspective of like why these legislators are pushing things that claim that there's no what's the word? Like no funding. There's no fiscal note when there is technically, but they feel like the money that's already coming in should cover that. And while he doesn't always agree with that, and they don't always realize how much money it actually does when you put it into play. Anyway, it was just something very interesting that I found out there.
So I have another question about the legislative stuff. Are they trying to bring back this year again, modifying the state constitution like they wanted to last year? And then they missed a deadline?
There's not been discussion of that, but something like that, a lot of times they would kind of, yeah.
So they can only place it on the ballot once every 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So the next ballot chance would be in 26. And so there's some resolutions out there. Aren't laws. We agree as legislators we want to do this to study some amendments coming forth, but those aren't anything concrete yet. There is a bill out there to reduce the burden on a legislator to limit citizen initiatives, but that has to go to a constitutional amendment in 26.
So we shouldn't see it on this year's end.
No, we won't see it in 25 at all.
Good question. All right. Moving on to consent items.
Make a motion, we approve the consent items.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second from Board Member Cronin and Hyde. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to suggestions for future board meetings. I wrote down Karen's suggestion for a work session topic. Any others?
At the state conference, I was talking to our architect for Golden Spike, and he was saying that we might be able to have some data to look at on Golden Spike and how much it saves with the energy, devices that we put in. Is that something that, Corey, that you think we could take a look at? I think if we, I think that would be good PR if we could show it's a beautiful, nice school, but we really don't spend much on utilities. If we could show that story.
We've been struggling with the test and balance phase. We've had all of the entities hard at work on that. It's taken a lot longer than it should have to do the test and balance. But they have requested all of the billings from Mike Clark, and so we'll get
President Summers, in the policy 5229 that we just passed on first reading, there's a statement that I've never seen before. And again, this is kind of to Brian's point that they just keep coming at us. And it's like, how do you keep track of every one? But I was reading this when we went through policy committee. says before the beginning of each academic year, the athletic director or another designated administrator from each school in the district which sponsors offers will provide a Board of Education report regarding the interscholastic sports available at the school, including both gender-designated interscholastic sports and there's several little things. Do we want that to be an informational item, say July, at the end of one year and before the beginning of the other, or would you rather have me work with Jesse and Clay and write the report and just send it to you as an informational item, or would you like that as part of a informational item in a board meeting? I've never seen this before, but it caught my attention. We've never talked about it. It's been in place for just a year, but we didn't do it last year, so I apologize for, it just snuck by us.
Yeah, I think let's have them present to the board and see how that goes, and if they put up if they would prefer not.
Well, I'll work with them to follow
let's do
this
that.
once it's approved, but anyway, if you wanted to put that on as maybe a July or a August number, or a June probably, July would be the year's over for sure.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you.
I also have a question if we can do, I don't know if it's a work session, but going over maybe what our future is for like another bond, or is that something that we can do?
Yeah.
So talking about the future of like what the plan is for our future schools, or is that already on?
We do that in June, don't we? Or
July, there's a full day and that's when we've talked about those plans, is that July. We have more time.
Yeah. Is that, if we wanted to do something, is that enough time to get it on a ballot for that next year? I mean, for that, this, do you know what I mean?
If we did it in July, it wouldn't be time to put it on the November ballot.
Is that important? I mean, is that something we want to touch base on before it comes too late?
How about I put that on our list, and actually, we've got a work session right after this scheduled, right? We could discuss a time for that in a work session, in that work session. Is that all right? Okay, but thank you for bringing that up. Okay, where are we? I skipped back to, future
graduations.
upcoming events. Sorry, yes, we've got the graduations there. You can see the dates on that. I've spoken to Brian. He has a daughter that's graduating at Box Elder High School. Brian, you don't have to if you'd prefer not to, but
I'll take my 1 minute.
good. And if it's all right, I'll take my 1 minute at Bear River High School. My son is graduating this year. So I looked over the list, and really graduation speeches are pretty well spread out between everybody. Everybody's had two turns to do that, other than Danielle and now Stephanie. So if someone feels strongly about Sunrise graduation this year, Danielle, you just did Sunrises, right? 2 years ago?
Yeah, well, 2 years this upcoming one.
So really,
I'm more than happy to do Sunrise.
that would be great.
I'm
Wade.
good. I haven't done that for a number of years, so.
Perfect.
It's super fun. I love that one.
It is. It's a wonderful graduation.
The last time I did the 7 times. It was when they just had, a few
think it's
come at a
worth,
time.
it's
So I
worth noting
knew that speech really
Sunrise
well.
is going to be moved to Box Elder High School's
Gymnasium.
with AC, but we just need to accommodate more people.
Isn't that awesome?
We've
I love
outgrown
that.
the auditorium, so it's awesome.
So great. It is such a fun. All right, Wade, thank you. I
You're
will put you
welcome.
down.
Just one last thing on Sunrise. There was a post on Facebook classifieds, and I was gonna send it to you and I forgot. And it was a mom asking opinions about Sunrise for her students, and every comment was, "It's the best school ever. I love the administration. I love the teachers." There wasn't a single bad comment,
That's awesome.
and I was so proud of them.
Sunrise graduation. It should be on. You turned it off. Speaking of Sunrise graduation, we broadcast it last year because the high school gym wasn't big enough, and so we needed overflow. Plus, it was also remote, and you are right, it's the best graduation I've ever been to.
It's awesome. Good. All right, the board handbook, we don't have something to discuss tonight with that unless one of you has read something recently you'd like to share. And adjournment, we have learned, does not need a vote. So seeing that we have completed the agenda, we are adjourned.
Go into work session.
And now we need to go.
You have to hit the gavel.
Oh, I have to hit the gavel?
Yeah, you gotta hit the gavel.
No, I don't.
I don't know.
What has to happen with the work session?
We'll just go in the other room.
All right.